How you doing, sir?
How are you, sir?
I'm very well.
Very well, very well. Nice to meet you, and I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited to see you too. Where's Lola?
It's a Lola has a baby, so she has an 18-month baby. She has to stay hugged up with the baby because it's 7 a.m. here right now,
Yeah.
so it's quite early. So we're in the New York, New Jersey area.
Oh, great.
So
Good to have you.
yeah,
And it's good that we're having a conversation today. Also, after the whole entanglement situations going on around the internet, and it's interesting to have you here. And we're gonna dive into that. But I have a few questions for you. But before we start, I'd like you to quickly introduce yourself. And when you introduce yourself, we can now go into the questions.
awesome. Yeah, so my name is Ola Abitogun, and I have a beautiful wife called Lola. We are the authors of this book, Get My Marriage Back. We're also the editors at lolaandlola.com. And basically, what we do is we create content to help marriages. And every now and then, we do pick up a few coaching situations too. But we have online programs for the most part because we truly believe in leverage. So we create our online courses and stuff like that to help marriages. But every now and then we create some time to deal with people one-on-one. We're not really too much on that right now because it involves personal time and we have a lot of other things going on as well. So, but this is our own form of therapy because we're 13 years in this August. We're going to be 13 years in marriage. So at around about 10 years anniversary, we went through some situations. And yes, there was entanglement involved.
Okay, yeah, there was entanglement somewhere. Okay.
So, but we found our way back to each other. But yeah, so, but it's been a lot of fun. So we have some insights on what makes this work, what makes us tick, and why this is not a game for kids. This is grown folks' business.
Okay, let's dive in straight into this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Why are marriages and relationships so hard, difficult, not lasting, and they are failing? Because you have a book. For someone like me, my marriage failed 4 years ago, right? And everything I did to get the marriage back, it didn't work, right? So having to have this conversation with someone like you puts me in a position where I feel like, okay, maybe if I had read your book a few years ago, right, or 4 years ago, there would have been a different way I would have approached it. So, but looking at things from different perspective right now, why are these marriages and relationships so hard? People are making it so difficult. Why are they not lasting and why are they failing?
Awesome. A couple of examples comes to mind, and I'll give examples. But number one reason is lack of leadership. People always say marriage is a partnership. That's not I'm not disagreeing with that. But marriage is first an institution, then it's an institution. There's got to be some kind of structure, It's not about partnership. You don't lead with the partnership. You lead with what value do you bring to the table as an institution.
Yeah.
As individuals, but even as an institution, like does your marriage serve a purpose bigger than both of you in life? And if you're looking at it from a standpoint of partnership, if you get into a place where the conversation becomes partnership, that means things already failed. That means you're questioning even if both of you are on the same page. So we were just talking about that because we have a Friday evening show that we do. And she brought it up because we do it together. She brought it up and she was like, oh, once upon a time, she would say we're partnership and I will frown against it. And I don't frown against it any longer because number one, the issue wasn't that you were not my partner. You were my partner by default. That's why we're in this conversation in the first place. So I don't need to defend that. Secondly, you're bringing up because you're feeling your space in that marriage is feeling threatened. She felt threatened. That's why she's saying partnership. That's why she's bringing it up. So two things. If she brought it up, that means there's an issue. Then that's a leadership is necessary now, right? And instead of me playing leadership, now I have a knee-jerk reaction. Now my ego has been tested. Now insecurity has kicked in from my end. And then you have this situation, right? And the issue was not even partnership. But we were not trained enough, we were not equipped enough to see that the issue wasn't partnership. So that's the issue. So the examples that I have here, I'm going to give two examples. That's because they put themselves on the public platform. I'm going to put them on blast since they're already public, right? We're talking about the entanglement situation, right? Will Smith found himself in a situation where he probably was fighting for the marriage for a while. We don't know the details there. Or he messed around and then the wife said she's done. And then basically they shut down. He couldn't make her happy. And then they went and whatever they did, and then they came back together, and that gave them a frame of reference that what we want to do is stay together for life. But he, not only did he come to the table with that, he became a man. He was a boy, just a male all the while. But he was also strong enough as a person before he could come to the table with that kind of strength. The second example I'm giving, he put himself on blast a few days ago by talking about these issues at all, was Daddy Freeze. By calling out Will Smith and saying, excuse my French, he might as well just say it's a pussy. It's a softie, right? But his marriage failed, and the way he handled it, up to today when he talks about that marriage, is embittered. That means he's not strong. He's showing us that he's not strong enough a person to even be in a marriage or relationship in the first place. So it's not surprising to me that he has that kind of outlook on what's going on with Will Smith and Jada Smith. So if I pick those two examples and two of them were trying to fight for their marriage back, it's obvious to me why one failed and the other one succeeded. And everything that happened yesterday does not matter in life. Everything that's going to happen in the future does not even freaking matter in life. You got to learn how to live in the present. If a woman says to you she doesn't want to be in a relationship anymore, what a king is supposed to say is, I understand. Let me know when you change your mind. That's all you're supposed to say.
Well, you see, hold on.
That's it.
You know, the toughest thing is when you are with a woman that you really love, right? A woman you really care about. How can I tell a woman? You see, it's tough to tell a woman that. How do I put it? When you change your mind, you know, it's a tough. You know, it's a tough situation, because for some people, the situations are very important. Now, for example, if it's domestic violence and the woman wants to leave, right? It's difficult to now be telling the woman whenever you change your mind. Do you understand? Yeah. But you see, it's easier to say whenever you change your mind when there are issues that are not that don't involve threat to life. So now, but there are some women that once they've made up their mind, and there's no coming back. They just feel like there's something better out there than what you give them, what you're giving them in your house. So when you say whenever you change your mind, so do you say that as a man and shut the door and go and sleep and you don't become worried? So what's the situation? Because let's have this conversation with different scenarios in mind.
Yes. First of all, shout out to Dr. Tolu. Shout out to Miss Ifeanyi and Mr. Ike, because I watched their session, and those conversations are very tough. They're very tough conversations to have. And like I said, it's grown folks' business. And kids will have a hard time. Kids, when I say kids, people that have not gone through pain of some sort, they will have a hard time.
That's the top one. Marriage is grown folks' business.
Yes. And we all go into it blindfolded. I don't care how much premarital counseling you go through. I do suggest it so you can have some things at the back of your mind. But you cannot comprehend what's about to happen to your life going into marriage. You can't. You just don't have that space to I don't care if you're a man, especially if you're a man, you can't even comprehend it. Women are kind of like a lot of them are prepared for the tough life. When you start telling them that they have too much hips and they have to dress a certain way, all that stuff is tough on a human being. We don't, as men, we don't go through that kind of craziness. We could run outside and play ball and come back in and hide and all that, and life continues. We're not forced into the kitchen. It's not, it's not a responsibility. And those things prepare us, or lack thereof does not prepare us for what we're about to encounter when a woman comes into a place mentally and I'm done. You're right. When she makes up her mind, she's done. You're right. When she goes to the altar and commit, she meant it, but she doesn't know what she's committing to. So how can she commit to what she doesn't know what she's committing to? And the first moment the first opportunity, she doesn't feel safe. Feel safe. I'm not saying she's not safe. There's two different things. There's a man will get into place. What do you mean you don't feel safe? Look, I got all this security and you're telling me you don't feel safe. That's lack of emotional intelligence. You don't have it. And it's not your fault that you don't have it. And that's why we can approach marriage and relationships with right and wrong outlook, black or white outlook. You're supposed to be a man this way. You're supposed to do this as a woman. All that kind of, excuse my French, I curse a lot. Is that okay? Or no?
Go ahead.
All that kind of bullshit don't work in marriage. They just won't. They won't. So back to what you were saying. If you say, if a woman just shut down on you and you love that woman, your problem now is that you love that woman more than yourself. That is a problem. That's going to be a problem in the marriage. If you love that woman more than yourself, you're supposed to love yourself. First of all, you're a king. So if a woman shuts down on you, at the back of your little arrogant mind in a healthy way, you're like, that's too bad, Let me know if you change your mind because your confidence is intact. This is harder. This is easier said than done. This is hard. What I'm telling you is hard. But that's what you need to do. Because what happens is that you're predictable. The moment you say, she says she's done, you're predictable. That's why she got to that place. And she can't know you're probably going to beg. And she's already prepared for that. And you now start begging. You start proving her wrong, meaning you're pushing her even further away. And she's scared for her life because you're proving to her that she can't even feel safe to express her feeling that in this moment in time, I'm done. When a woman says, I'm done, I'm not in love with you, that's just now. And as a man, not grown folks' business, remember, as a man, you're supposed to recognize that that's just how she feels right now. The only thing I can give her right now is that feeling of done. Let her be done. Allow her to be done. And even if that means, now you have a little fear, right? You have a little fear that she may never come back. Even if that means she never comes back, you have a God in your life. Hopefully, right? That means God is preparing space for something better. That's the worst case scenario. Your best chance of attracting her back to you is to be okay with her being done and potentially being gone forever. I don't care if you have kids. I don't care what's going on in your head. Like I said, this is easier said than done. This is grown folks' business. So if you're not well prepared for this, if you don't have a personal purpose in life, you will fail at waiting for her and pretending that I'm just waiting.
So from what you're saying, love is not enough.
Love is more than enough. But that's not love when you have to hold them against how they feel right now. That's not love. That's you being, that's rejection breathing obsession. You're obsessed. In fact, in real life, you may not even want her anymore. But because she rejected you, you're obsessed. That's just psychology. That's why you feel like you have to hold on to her. You only hold on to stuff that rejects you. That's just how we're set up as human beings. That's just how we're set up. We're set up to want things that we can't have in the moment. The moment we can have it, we get complacent, right? We start taking it for granted. For most people, you probably took her for granted. That's how she got into that space. Or you don't love yourself enough. If she feels like you like her more than you like yourself, she doesn't want you because nobody else wants you. That just makes sense. That's just most of us as human beings. If nobody else wants that girl, we probably don't want that girl.
Okay, so Mike, let's dive into this entanglement situation going on. For someone like me, like I posted on my page, I don't judge Will and Jada. Is their situation. I know women that are married, men that are married, that are doing stuff outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
And today, because of Jada and Will have come out to say, hey, these are the challenges we face in our marriage, right? Which the word entanglement had to play in, and that's what we are all using today.
Mm-hmm.
So in situations like that, how do you settle situations like that? When there's an entangled situation where you broke up with your wife, she started dating somebody else, and then you guys are back together. You now find out years later that there was a situation like that going on. If she comes back to you and you guys are already back together and you're happy, and then the conversation happens years later, like if you were in Will's situation, what would you have done? Be honest. From an honest point of view, what would you have done?
So my old self, this is what I would have done. My unprepared self, I would be butt hurt, right? That would hurt my feelings, right? And that's the natural knee-jerk reaction. We all experience rejection the same way. It doesn't feel good. I don't care. Even if you've read the book, we advise you to read the book 15 times because these things, you have to change habits, right? So it's not going to happen when you read it once. What I would have done today, or what I did, what I had to do, I was lucky enough to stumble into some coaches, completely virtual coaching, where I started learning the art of seduction. It comes down to seduction and attraction. That's what it comes down to, you know? So if you don't understand seduction, heart of attraction, heart of seduction, you don't know what love is. Love has to be unconditional, okay? But a little bit different. It's a little twisted because as human beings, we don't actually have the capabilities of unconditional love. You have to tap into God to understand unconditional love. Like when you're just going into a relationship to give and no more, no less. You don't go into relationships to give and take. What I would have done with Will Smith, which is what Will Smith did, is not be concerned about the other man, what the other man is doing, the next door. The only thing I need to know when my wife comes back to me is if it's over. That's the only thing I need to know.
If the situationship or the entanglement is over.
That's it. And I'm not wrapped up in what was the size of his dick? Was it good in sex? Listen, in my mind, I'm the best. Like no one can compete with me. And the moment I bring that up, that means I don't feel like I'm the best.
You know, something really played out in that whole conversation with Will and Jada. She said she was looking for happiness. She wanted to feel different, right? And she later found out that it was what she was really looking for. She couldn't find it.
Yes.
A lot of people leave marriages. Yeah. What happens today in Nigeria that I can see, a lot of women leave marriages to go and start dating married men.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
A lot of women leave marriages to go and take off another person's husband or boyfriend.
Yes.
Right?
Fact. Uh-huh.
A lot of men, when they are done with marriages, they either have multiple girlfriends, right? Or either have different situations that happen to them.
Yes.
Now, for the pursuit of happiness, from Jada's conversation, you find out that she went there, but she didn't find that thing she wanted.
Yes.
Now that she didn't find that thing she wanted, her and Will are back together, and they're having this conversation. That brings me to my next question, which is, why are women having a hard time trusting, respecting, and submitting to their men?
So, trusting, respecting, and submission, right? And attraction, and all those things are earned. They are to be earned. With respect to that person used to respect you and they lost respect for you. That person used to trust you and they lost trust for you, right? That person, in fact, fell in love with you, aka they submitted their emotions, their hearts to you, right? But suddenly they find themselves in a place where they're having a hard time doing that. Something went wrong. It doesn't have to be a matter of fault. It doesn't have to be right and wrong. Something went wrong. It could go as far back as to her childhood. Has nothing to do with you. But what a king does, or a person who understands attraction and seduction, what they do is, what they first don't do is catch reaction. They don't knee-jerk react. They don't question their own ability. They don't have, their insecurity doesn't kick in at that point. They say, interesting. They listen. This is easier said than done. What not most of us do when we're not prepared for this, right? Is like, what do you mean you're not happy? Well, first of all, if you realize that you cannot make her happy, the only thing you can be a happy person and attract another happy person, right? If you realize that you can't make another person happy, you won't take an offense to her saying she's not happy with you. If she says she's not happy with you, that speaks volume about her not understanding life more than you.
Yeah.
And the only thing you should have is empathy. She doesn't realize that I'm not the one that's going to make her happy. She needs to find a way to make her happy. And if you listen to that conversation clearly, Will Smith said, we weren't happy. And I told you, go figure out how you're going to make yourself happy. Because he realizes, I can't make you happy, especially if you've gone to a place where it's so bad emotionally and you don't feel happy. I'm clearly not making happy you. I get that, but that's also default. If you were attracted to me, you were attracted to me because I was a happy person. Maybe because I was a Hollywood superstar. Who knows, right? But we're in a bad space right now. You got to let her go. You got to let her go. It's your best chance of attracting her back. How are you going to attract her if you don't let her go? How are you going to do that? You're just dragging her. She's going to pull back. That's the way reactions work. She's going to keep pulling back. That's the law of science, physics, all of these different laws that we know. That's the way it works. But if you let her go, you're going to fuck with her mind. She's going to wonder, what the hell happened?
Okay.
How come it's not fighting back?
There are situations that I know. There are women that when you over pamper them, right? You over treat them nice. You do everything. You are on their feet. They end up looking at you, like, for example, if you're always available, you're always there, you are doing everything, she needs this, you carried it, it gets to a point where she doesn't have that, how will I put it? What's the right word? She doesn't have that respect for you. There are things that you do as a man, yeah? There are things that you do as a man for a woman. You are everywhere. And then you lose respect because you are trying to be there for the woman at all points. In situations like that, right? How can a man, right, regain his respect in a home? You understand? In that kind of situation.
All right, good question. So let me bring it back to the GPS: God, purpose, and self. Okay, as I was saying, self-respect is required for other people to respect you. It's not just your wife. It's everyone else in life, including your wife. Self-respect. Self-respect is required. Okay. Now, if you used to carry your stuff and let me tell you something. If your wife calls you at work, right? You're doing a 9 to 5, and she always calls you at 12, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, anytime she has on, and every time you pick up, you got too much time. She's going to water down your attention. It's not her fault. That's how we value itself. If it's too available, right? If it's readily available, that's a place you'll get to with your wife where you don't have to overthink that. However, you gotta put space. Like distance makes the heart fonder. You gotta, hey babe, you can pick up, still treat her like a queen that she is, and say, hey babe, let me call you right back. You have to do that once in a while. Text messages back and forth all day long is for babies. That's what teenagers do. And they have all that energy. A woman, the one you're trying to attract, no, she doesn't want that. You may think she wants that. She may even tell you in words, that's what I want. I want you to answer my text. Just tell her, I'm sorry, babe. I was just so busy. I really want to get back to you. That's seduction. That's attraction. You have to pay attention to that. Once you figure this out, somebody said easy. Easy, hard, difficult, and irrelevant words when it comes to things that are worthwhile. A marriage with the right person is worthwhile. Life is worthwhile. You don't go say life is not easy. It's not relevant to life. If you have a purpose in life, if you're a Dangote, if you're UB Frankly, you don't think about easy and hard. That's not what you think about. You're thinking, I want that, and I'm going to get it, and it's going to be worth it when I get it. So if you're thinking attraction and seduction is hard, because I said, no, if she's calling you every second, tell her, babe, let me get back to you. Give her a few hours, especially if you're noticing that you're attracting disrespect. All she needs is space. She will respect you, especially if she was attracted to you, you guys fell in love and got married. If it was RNG, I can't guarantee nothing. Maybe she didn't like you in the first place. But if it's a situation where somebody was used to be in love with you and situation is happening and disrespect is coming in, it's because you're too available. Whatever you're doing that's happening, switch it. That's how the human brain works. The problem that I see with a lot of counselors and marriages and marriage teaching is there's a gross disrespect for psychology and emotional intelligence in these things. We're dealing with human beings. There's a way the brain works. If it's too available, we don't give a shit. We just don't care. All of us, including especially a woman, they will get bored to death if you try to do all that romantic Hollywood nonsense. There's a place for that. That place is when she doesn't have that already. You got to find other things that she's missing and fill that gap. That's seduction. That's attraction. That's going into a relationship to give because now she wants it. And no, when what she says out of her mouth is not relevant. You have to read beyond that. But part of it is listening to her. You have to learn how to listen. When I say listen, not listen when you already know what you're about to say next. That doesn't work. You have to listen where to the point where I say, you have anything to say to this? And like, yeah, that's interesting, babe. I was thinking, you have some interesting point of view. A king does not feel the need to reply now. You take your time. Let me get back to you on that, babe. She will respect you, bro. There's no way around it. She doesn't have a choice. I don't care if she's already gone with another man. She will respect you. If she's gone with another man and she slept with a few men and that's what you want, right? When she come back to you and you don't bring up that other loser, she will respect you, bro. She has no choice. It's the way the human brain works.
Okay, let's talk about sex. How often is sex needed in a marriage, and what is the role sex plays in the foundation and the formation and strengthening a marriage?
So you know Chris Rock, the comedian?
Yeah.
So he had a stand-up on HBO. He said, if you're having problems with your marriage, just fuck, man. Right? But that doesn't always work like that. If you could get to fucking, it does help. But it doesn't work like that. Having sex is a symptom of a person that's already attracted to you, if you want to have it the right way, at least. There are other underlying things that has happened before a person just want to rip off your pants and vice versa, right? So what I would say about that healthy relationship, you should have at least 2 or 3 times a week. But with respect to individual relationships, there are different dynamics out there, and I don't like to speak in absolutes, right? Some people may find what works for them is every other week. I think if it's too spaced apart, if it's anything less than once a week, the devil will creep in. You may think you're okay with it. Your spouse may not be okay with it. And your spouse could be a woman, and she would like a little bit more intimacy. You got to pay attention to that. I think at least once a week is healthy for most people that I've dealt with, that I've coached. They would like that. Or one person feel like, nah, that's too much, and the other person feels like, no, that's too, and then they have a problem because there's a mismatch.
There needs to be a balance somewhere.
Yes. But anything less than once a week and there's no medical issues, that's going to be a problem. One person is going to watch enough TV or watch enough porn or see enough stuff on Instagram or booties or find men, and you're going to have a problem.
Wow. All right, let's talk about your book, right? Let's talk about your book, and we're ending this session right now. So let's talk about your book.
Yeah.
I'd like you to tell us about the book, and if possible, go through the different sections of the book. Just tell us what this section is about, what that section is about. So let people go and buy it, and then they can read it from there. So you have the floor.
All right. So the book is called Get My Marriage Back because we wanted to make it simple, but anyone in any kind of relationship will find this extremely useful. But more so if you've gone through crisis. Some stuff may not make true sense to you if you haven't gone through pain with respect to relationship. If you are looking at things black and white, oh, a man is supposed to do this, a woman is supposed to do it, this is the right way to do it. If you're doing that, you're going to have a hard time with some of the concepts in this book. Chapter 1, stop the bleeding. That's when somebody leaves you, right? And then you want to fight. Natural, normal, conventional knowledge says fight for it. In fact, other women, your best friends, she wants you to fight for it. And then what you do is you go beg and beg and beg, and you push her even further away. The way you stop the bleeding is stop everything you're doing. Start working on yourself. That's chapter 1. Chapter 2, silence is golden. Silence is always golden. We run our mouth too much. People say communication, communication, communication. Everybody knows that communication is the way to fix a marriage. But somehow they're all failing at it, at least 50% of them. So they have bastardized meaning of communication. Majority of communication, if you're the perpetrator of communication, is actually shutting up and listen to what the other person has to say and where they're coming from, because that's your way of giving it to that relationship. We'll cover that in chapter 1. Chapter 3, test pain and greatness. Like I said, there's no such thing as greatness or marriage goals or relationship goals without it being tested. That's why you have Will and Jada, and they could bring themselves to that table, and someone like that, if he will still run his mouth and they're still winning in spite of all of it. They make up a face. They say, hey, he looks like he was in pain. You sure? If he was in pain, he wouldn't come to the table. He would just tell us to go somewhere and go die somewhere. Are you sure? Are you analyzing that properly? You know, so you can't just take one screenshot of a face and say it was funny. It's funny as hell, entanglement. But dude, lifestyle, when it comes to marriage, when it's not funny, a lot of people went and run their mouth and they went to bed crying last night because they're in a bad situationship or bad entanglement, right? Number 4, we talk about the heart of attraction. So I touched a little bit on heart of attraction and seduction and stuff. What she did is she told all the story of what happened in our marriage, and then I explained how we got out of it and the concept that will help you get out of it. So she told all the stories in the beginning of each chapters. Chapter 5, myth of the one. You can get the book at getmymarriageback.com for free. If you want to download the free PDF, if you want Amazon or audiobook, all that stuff, you go, all those platforms are there as well. Now, chapter 5, the myth of the one and soulmate. Like soulmate, my soulmate, that's my soulmate. Remember you mentioned that, that's the person you love. So that's your soulmate. You feel like this is your spiritual husband, wife, and you shouldn't let them go. Well, that's why they're going to run away from you. Because that's scary as hell. That's some creepy shit. That's why they're going to run from you. All right. Then chapter 6, attachment and neediness. Neediness, attachment, those things are not attractive. If you're attached, listen, we're all codependent to some extent. But there's a place you get to that's very, very toxic. Especially a woman will run. They will run from you. And I say especially a woman because we're still in a society where, quote unquote, it's a man's world. And we come off, either we make them feel safe or they feel threatened very fast, very quickly. Yeah. And we need to be aware of that. No matter how we try to shape it, everyone is equal, it's 50-50. I didn't argue that. You could call it 50-50, 60-50 all you want. But there's a place that a woman comes to you and say, I want you to pay the bills. I want you to be the man. You're acting like a pussy. At that point, you better pay attention, right? Or a woman is needy and you're wondering why he's running away from you. That's because he thinks you're cheap. He may not be able to explain it. He probably doesn't think that, but his brain is telling him that you're too cheap, right? Chapter 7, building your real love story. You can't have real love story when you're marrying for the first time. It's fake. And it's just fake. You didn't know what you were getting into. How could you love? You were in love. That's what Gary Chapman, the author of 5 Love Languages, called it. You were in love. That's infatuation. It's fake. There's no way you could comprehend what love is. You can't comprehend love unless you go through pain. Get that right.
You can't comprehend love unless you go through pain.
Yes. Yes. It's impossible. You just don't have it. It's just one of those things that you just don't have. Then we cover the 3 core pillars in chapter 8. That's GPS, God, purpose, self. When we say God, I don't mean that strange that strange being, human being, or strange person that lives on a strange planet somewhere. That's not what I mean. I don't mean what the Nigerian pastors preach for the most part. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the God in you, a higher self of yourself, something you tap into that's bigger than you, and the span of life you're going to live here is bigger than that. We're talking legacies. We're talking about you making sure that you're spiritually equipped. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about religion. What they do in Nigeria, what I grew up on in our Ondo State is religion. That's what it was. And God hates religion. That's a fact of life. It's not like you could see it. Everything that follows religion fails. You can look at the nation. You can look at the family structure. You can, in fact, they fail so much they don't know they fail. The other time I was listening to somebody say, oh, whipping our kids and beating our kids worked. And the person said, how did it work? You still went to university and you got to third grade or third level before you figure yourself out. Well, it's what's straightened me out after the fact. No, it didn't work. They don't even know that it doesn't work. That's how religion is. Because it messes with your brain. It takes out screws out of your brain and you can't even think. This is science, but it's beyond science, beyond black and white. Part of science is psychology, meaning even in the Bible, it talks about the forces of evil that you fight, that you can't see. So it's beyond just you saying, oh, it's just not a man, or that woman is just, she just wants to be a hoe. She just wants to be a hoe is what you could pull out of this situation. Why? Because she slept with 2 men after she left you? You're a loser. That's just what you are. It's beyond just the obvious, right? So we talk about 3 core pillars. Purpose is the second core pillar. You have to have a personal purpose in life that's bigger than your spouse. If you don't have a mission in life, you will fail at marriage and relationship because that's too much weight on another person. You need to come 100% strong. Self, everything self, self-courage, self-respect, self-worth, self-development, self-improvement, all of those self things. If you are lacking on those things, you will fail in a marriage, you will fail in all your relationships, including relationship with your siblings. It will break down every time. You will find yourself in unnecessary fights and arguments all the time. Now, chapter 9, God and unconditional love. So this is the chapter where we explained what God means to us. I'm a church boy. I play keyboard in church, but I'm very clear that that's religion. When they go into the gibberish, I phase out. I don't understand what they're talking about. When my pastor starts playing about witches and wizards, I can't understand it. I can't comprehend it. That's just me. Everyone to each his own. When it comes to marriage, praying against witches and wizards will not work because you are the witch and the wizard in your own marriage. Is you. Chapter 10, personal purpose and mission. So we're going into the explaining of then chapter 11, self-development. In chapter 12, we talk about communication 2.0. That's the last chapter. Communication 2.0. Everyone is like, it's just the communications. No, you don't know what communication is. You need to understand what communication 2.0 is. It's not about talking. You talk too much, especially if you're a man. If you talk too much, you will scare her away. Because that strong voice, I was listening to another session. I'm not gonna mention names because I love this couple, and he was talking about because the Ekiti man, he yells and shouts. You're going to scare her. I don't care how committed she is to you right now. She will run. It's only a matter of time. Or she will run spiritually, emotionally. She will feel disconnected from you, and your marriage will suffer. There's a lot of people in marriages that is suffering, and they plan to stay in it for life. Meaning they have that much lower quality of life. Yes, sir.
Wow. I never thought this conversation was going to be this interesting. If I were to give you a mark on people that have been on this show, I'll definitely give you an 80 over 100. Yeah. And I'll tell you something. The reason why I can connect to this conversation is because I've been to the different places where you've taken me to today in terms of from communication and every part of your book, understanding self-care, self-respect, and all of that. I've been through all the around. I failed in marriage. I failed in some personal relationships that I've had with people. But automatically, the best thing you can ever do for yourself as a human being, as a young person, is to continually upgrade yourself, continually push things for yourself, make yourself better, because I will never in my life had expected myself to learn most of the things I'm learning right now on Instagram. in the last 15 weeks of social media, I've used it to shape a lot of things in my life. Today, the conversation we're having right now has definitely changed a lot of things for me. All I need to do is go home and practice it, you know, go home and just keep pushing it here and there. You know, there are some things that you can do as a person. You see, first point of call, I always tell people, is not saying, oh, Ubi did this, Ubi did that. It's about asking yourself a question. What can you learn from Ubi's mistakes? You know, I always say I'm a sacrificial lamb. You know, I've made mistakes that everyone out there need to understand that they need to look into those mistakes. The ones that are not true are many. The ones that are true are many. And the ones that are true are things that every day I have a conversation with people on social media, because I believe that I've gotten to a point where I'm not shy. I'm not scared to discuss my shortcomings in life, to help people balance off how they, because you see, I was having a conversation with somebody and he said, you don't need money. I just started laughing. I said, if this person understands, you know, if this person understands that sometimes I go flat broke, they will not say what they're saying. You know, some people really think that, oh, this guy, every time he lifts his hand, like his money comes down. No, you know, everybody has their situations, but the fact that we might not discuss it every day, you know, and I would like you to do me one favor.
Yes, sir.
I like to, on Thursday, I'm having a session on marriage, marriage, divorce, marriage separation and divorce, right? I'm having a session like that again on Thursday, and I want to bring in a few speakers. I like you and your madam, if she's your wife, she's going to be available.
What time? Same time?
No, it's going to be later in the evening show. It's going to be around 9 p.m.
9 p.m. Niger time.
Niger time.
That's
so it's
perfect.
going to be it's going to be perfect for you. Yeah. So because the thing is, what I'm trying to use my platform to do is to reach out to as many people as possible. I was driving out somewhere and a random guy just met me and said, I've been watching your show, right? And I was like, really? I'd never thought that guy had an Instagram. He said, I've been watching your show. I like this. So I asked him a few questions. I found out that he's been watching the show. Even if he doesn't watch the show when it's live, he watched the pre-recorded one.
It goes far.
He goes far. You know, so for me, I'm going to definitely buy your book. Guys, after this, please click on his profile and please check out his book. That book, I'm definitely going to buy it because I want to read it. A lot of things have changed about me in the last 15 weeks. A lot of things I've learned in the last 15 weeks. But most importantly is I'm happy that I have people like you that always accept to come live, you know, to discuss things like this. And you're not scared of, you know, saying anything you want to say, how you want to say it. And thank you so much for coming on the show, and my regards to your family.
Thank you so much, Ubi. You know, my biggest fear is that I know too much. So I always lead with, I don't know shit. I'm always learning. I plug into everything that you do. I appreciate this. That's why we asked to plug in. So I really appreciate you. I just want to say, everyone stay blessed. Our goal is basically to help in one shape or the other, no matter how little, help at least 1,000 relationships every year. That's our goal. So that's why we also wanted to plug in on this. I will look forward to the Thursday. My babe will be excited to come on. She really wanted to, but this was a tough one to try to push this in. So thank you so much for your time, bro. And keep doing what you're doing. And we can see it. We can see your growth. So keep going, okay?
Thank you. I really appreciate you for coming. Thank you.
All right, bro. Yeah, later.